Hello all, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, based on wherever you are. This is Saurabh Dhani, and today we'll be talking about another performance tool within Business Central called Performance Profiler. So without wasting further time, let's understand what Performance Profiler brings into the table. So as an administrator, you might have seen situations where there are maybe errors or there might be performance issues. And we have talked about it in the last video also, where we looked at a different tool, which is page inspection, which is able to provide us some insight. But what if you want to know about the app or how much time each app is taking, which you can see from there also. But what if you want to go a little bit extra, where you would like to see how much time spent per code line or per object, or you would like to see the call stack of all the code that's being running when you execute a process in your business central environment. That's your performance profiler is used. It shows you graphical representation of different type of apps. You can either see that data based on app names, or you can aggregate the data by the app publishers also. You can see the time spent, which is also available on the page inspector, but you can go a little bit extra to see time spent by application object. Now this tells you about which object is running, how much time it took, uh, how much sample time spent in sample columns are there. We'll see that. And then it also tells you the call tree, which is the call stack per object wise based on the calls that has been made when user performed certain action. The cool part is that you can record this, then download it, and then share it with your partner to have them work on it offline. Another cool part is that the developer working on your issue at your partner side will not need an exact environment replica to read the file that's coming from your business central environment. So that gives you that kind of easy way to share the details about it, and then they can go into the source control, fix the issue for you, and you can move ahead. If you have in-house developer, that this performance profiler tool help us a great utility in their toolbox. So without wasting much time, let's get into Business Central and start using Performance Profiler and see how it works. So let me open my Business Central. Here it is. And let's understand how you activate the Performance Profiler in Business Central. As I said earlier in the previous one, this tool is also available on-prem and SaaS, if I'm not wrong, starting version 19 and higher, you'll have access to Performance Profiler. So there are two ways how you can open Performance Profiler. The first one is go to Help and Support. Inside Help and Support, you can use the button called Analyze Performance, and that will populate a separate tab where it'll give you some options about it, and we'll talk about it in detail. That's one way to activate your Performance Profiler. If you don't want to come here and if it sounds complex, you can also search for Performance Profiler, and that should load it in. The only thing that you need to remember, that Performance Profiler should always be on a separate window. It should not be on the window that where you are trying to generate your scenario. So if you come via this route by searching it, make sure you click on this icon, which opens this page into a separate window. So you'll click on it, it'll take that window outside of your working tab. Once it opens, it gives you certain options. One, to start, which means it'll start recording the performance profiling of the actions that you're doing. Then stop. Once you're done with your process, you will stop this process. Then the third option is clear, which clears whatever has been logged previously. There's nothing at this point, so it's empty and disabled. Then download, which allows you to download that configuration or that recording that happened for your performance process. The other one is share, which allows you to share via OneDrive to your partner or to your in-house developers. And then upload is something that is used on the other side of the equation, where your partner developer will upload the file that he or she have received to import it into his or her environment to understand where the issue is. Okay, so I have created a fake issue also in my business center. So I'll just place these into two different tabs so that we can work on this simultaneously. So now let's try to test it. So first thing first, it's not a process recorder tool if you're thinking from that perspective. Second, you need to activate it exactly from the point where you are going to start your operation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my customer card or customer list, and then from there I'm going to create a sales order, and on that sales order I'm going to create a line of type GL. So let's start doing that. Let's hit start. As it started, I'm going to customer. Once I get into the customer card, I choose one of the customer that's available in my business center, and from there I'll use the action to create a new document of creating a sales order. So let it load. Once it gets loaded, let's choose the customer, and then from the new document menu, I'll choose the sales order. Oh, that went pretty fast. Sales order. Once you click on sales order, it will automatically create a sales order for the customer that you have selected. It'll key in the details that are coming from there as it is. Let's collapse this, and let's add a item type, item line for any item, and then let's add a line of type GL for a GL account. As soon as I did enter the GL account, I found an error that item is not found. So there's something wrong somewhere happening, and I would like to understand what it is. So I'll come here and stop this. Okay, let's minimize this and let's expand this. This is important now. What it tells you on the first section is you have active apps which ran during your process based on the time that it took. So it tells you that there is a slow extension which we had yesterday, if you remember, where we created the uh, a issue on the customer card loading, and that is taking most of the time, whereas your base application is taking less time in comparison to the slow extension. As I was saying, you can change this data to be aggregated by the app name or by the app publisher, which is me. So I'm the culprit here. Now, the other thing that you can do is not just the active apps, you can click on show technical info. It'll give you other details as I was talking about earlier. So let's enable this and start showing you how much different extensions again took time. You can again aggregate it by app name and app publisher, which is similar to what you saw on the above section. Once that is done, you can come down here and see the time spent by application object. So it'll tell you which application object, irrespective from base Microsoft, third-party ISV, or pertinent extension, which of these object is taking a lot of time. So if you look at it, the majority of time taken by the page extension, customer list extension with 22 second and 8 millisecond, and then so on and so forth. Okay, that might not be something that you're looking for, but the last one is super important, which is call tree, which helps you in case of there's an error message. So it will navigate you from the perspective of how the process went. You went into your customer card where this page extension code gets activated, which ran for 28 second and 8 millisecond. Then it came to some caption class to conversion. Then it went to sales order new record, and you can dig deep into it if needed, where it tells you what was executed, each more or less line by line, and then you can see that everything is happening correctly. Then it came to the on insert where the sales order get inserted. Then it went into the number field where we did the item thing, and it called some of the base Microsoft code. And then it went to the number field again, This time it called the show shortcut dimension, and at this point we have an error message, which does not get recorded here, but based on the call tree, you understand that something is happening when the number on validate is being called. Okay, now you have this data as a user or as an administrator, and you would like to share this data with the developer. Again, you have two routes. You can either download the data or you can directly share it. So when I download the data, it'll tell you that it contains some sensitive info or privacy requirement based on the data that you have, the customer number and other details and all. If you're okay with sharing that, let's click yes, and it'll download a file for you. The file will be ALPU profile, and we'll see what that means in a while. And then let's try the share option. When I click on share, it'll copy this file, it'll download and copy the file into your OneDrive folder for Business Central, and then we'll give you an option to share this file via email as the OneDrive options that you have while you're sharing the files. So Business Central have already OneDrive integrated with Business Central, and it is just verifying does that folder exist for this environment or not, and if it does, is there a file exists for this or not. Once it gets uh, copied there, it'll show you the share window based on which you can share that data to your in-house developer or your partner developer. The beauty is that you're not leaving your Business Central environment, you're doing all that within your Business Central environment. So it's already there, and anybody who have access to this link can access this file, which just got downloaded. So let me send that to my email. Okay, and here I can add a message. Hey developer, please review the extension. It seems you have a slow extension deployed in our environment, and I'm referring to the name uh, of the extension, which is slow extension that we have created. And then you get all the uh, OneDrive options, what they can do. They can modify, edit, is there an expiry date, is there a password? So you can set all those settings in here if needed. And then you hit send, and that sends out an email to gmail.com. The developer from your partner side will be able to check that email on his inbox, and he will be able to act on it based on whatever he or she is receiving. So that gives you a simple way to kind of share that insight with the developer. And once this file gets downloaded as we have it, let's close this and let's move to my next environment. If I have it open, let's say PC open discussion environment. Just FYI, the PC open discussion environment does not have any reference to the slow extension that we have created. So I'll have no idea. My this environment have no idea about the slow extension, what it is, and how it works. But I don't need that, and that's I guess the beauty of this tool, that you don't need to have the insight about or have the similar mimic structure of it. So what I can do is I can search for performance profiler. Okay. Once I have it, okay, I will be able to upload the file. So I can click on upload, choose the file, and that should be in my downloads. And I'll choose the file which got downloaded. And without having the same environment, the system will be able to read this file and show the similar output that I had in my customer environment. So it'll give me the similar detail as you were seeing while you're recording it as a user or as an administrator in your company. And I'll have more insight on the code that might be causing problem into it, which is this. At this point, I can see all the details here in the similar way as you are seeing at your end. I can deploy this on an on-prem environment. I can deploy this on a Docker environment if needed. It doesn't matter. That's not it. You can actually go into your Visual Studio Code. Let me open my slow extension. And you can actually open the file from the download section and select the file. You trust the workspace. And the beauty is that the the VS Code will understand it and will be able to read that file, and that is done with something called as AL profile overview. We'll talk about it in some other video, but it gives you the same insight but on a top-down approach. Which extension it belongs to, what is that object ID and all, and it also gives you how much time it took in milliseconds. So you can actually dig into these in the same way as you are doing in in the Business Central environment. You can drill down onto the sub methods which are being called while this got recorded. So it's the same way. You don't need a client in this way. In this case, you can just utilize the file in your Visual Studio Code to see where things are happening when this process ran. So you'll get a fair idea of it. So based on this, I know that a customer also sent me an error message that the item is not found as error message. So I can come back to my extension and say, oh, yes, I had this code written correctly, and that's why there was an error. Plus, I can also see that the customer list, which is causing the slowness, is actually because I have added a sleep. So as a developer will take less amount of time to analyze, to mimic this issue before I start solving the problem. So using the performance profiler, you can achieve all that in very simple way as a super user or as an administrator of your company. So let's summarize what we learned before we end this. You can use performance profiler to understand why a business process is taking longer than expected. You can activate performance profiler by two ways, by going into help and support and then analyze performance, or you can search for analyze performance. The thing that you need to remember that analyze performance window should or performance profiler window should always be running on a separate browser tab. This feature is available on-prem and SaaS. Uh, the result of your performance profiler will show you which apps are active during that process, how much time each app took. It'll also give you time spent per object wise, and it'll also give you the call stack tree based on the code that's being executed in that process. Using the performance profiler window, you can download the results of the recording that has been done, and you can easily share it using the OneDrive integration that is part of the Business Central SaaS only at this point, I guess. And the developer can either utilize a Business Central environment to upload that file and analyze it, or they can use Visual Studio Code to read the same file. So hope you like the content. Hope you understand how you can utilize these small but pretty powerful tools in Business Central to, to work on performance of your processes. If you like the content, please add a comment to the video. That'll help us to understand what kind of content we are building. And please do share the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. This is Saurav Dhyani signing out, and I'll see you next day with the next video about Business Central. Thank you. Have a nice day.